here with Phillip Folsom. You got a lot of sounds going on with you.
Very alliterative.
Phillip Folsom from Fulcrum, and you got to say the whole name for me because I didn't know the whole name.
Fulcrum Leadership Institute.com.
Leadershipinstitute.com. Okay. And what I know about this, for 2 summers now, I've participated. CARD has taken a lot of the leaders in our organization, because CARD is a huge organization, but the leaders convene in Malibu at a camp, and you bring your folks there, and you take us through different experiences and exercises, and it is so informative and so positive, and it's amazing to watch as the 3 days progress, to see people first build up a wall and then take it down and then welcome people over the wall. And literally.
Yeah.
And it's been really exciting. I will tell you, the first time that we were coming, I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a part of it. Can I get out of it? Like, I was begging and pleading to get out of it. And you were the first person I met when I got there. Because I'm sure you will not remember, but I drove my car in the wrong way. And
Did I shame you?
No. In fact, no. It was quite the opposite. You gave me this whole thing, and you said, now this is going to be difficult. You said, because you're going to have to back out, and there's people coming down, and you looked at me and you were like, are you up to this? And I was like, what do you mean? Of course I'm up to it. Of course. And you were like, okay, because it's a little bit difficult, and I just don't want to put you through this if you're not up to it. And you asked me if I was from some school, and I said, what? I didn't know what the school was, and I said, no, I'm here with CARD. And you looked at me and you were like, really? Oh, I could have sworn you were with this school. Like you knew me from before or something. And I was like, what's up with that? But I instantly loved you. Because I, as an autism mom, I love it when somebody says, now this is going to be difficult, but are you up to it? Because that's not everybody thinks to ask you that. And I was up to it, and I turned my car around, it wasn't easy, but I got my car down the right way. And then when I came into the building, you were standing there waiting for me with arms open and gave me this huge hug. Who wouldn't love that, right? What am I saying? So, I was set up for success in that first couple of days, because my first interaction was with you. But so many people have talked about how amazing the experience is. And you've done this with lots of companies. CARD is by no means, so if somebody is out and watching and they have a group of people, tell them what kinds of things you help to build for, and it's not just corporate groups that you work with many types of groups.
Yeah, we do a lot of youth programming, a lot of after-school programs, a lot of public schools, most of the private schools. So we have a big youth department, youth leadership. And then my department is primarily doing a lot of intact work team, leadership work with management. I do sports psychology with Red Bull and their high performance teams and Microsoft and those types of work. And it's all about building more cohesive, more high functioning organizations. That's the game. And
you really come from this place of, you talk about tribes a lot. And I respond to that really well, because I've always said that I didn't find my tribe until I was an autism mom. And that, autism brings some things that are not fun, but one of the best things it has done in my life, aside from, giving my very unique child, was I got a tribe. I fully have a tribe. I know I can go into a knife fight any place, and if I go autism mom, there will be 7 people behind me who have my back. And I know that for sure. And that's a gift.
Absolutely. Again, we're not talking about the veterans at the moment, but I remember distinctly that I had the experience of having to borrow some money from a stranger who I knew was in the Army with me. And he said, yeah, absolutely, how much you need? And I was like,
that's a tribe, man. That's when you know you're a tribe.
And if you have never had that experience of being part of humanity that will loan you or watch your 6 or go to the knife fight. It's an incredibly healing, powerful thing. And what it leads to in terms of organizational health is that once you have safety, once you have that trust foundation built, that opens the door up to risk-taking, to innovation, towards conflict management, towards giving and receiving effective feedback. these are all things that build accountability and really high-performing teams.
Yeah.
And so tribe is just instrumental for a foundational organizational structure.
And you really, I mean, there's so many things that your team does, but what I see you doing is that you, in all of the exercises that you do and experiences you lead, you really help us to break it down to figure out what our load is in the tribe and what our gift is in the tribe, what we're bringing to the tribe, what we need to be aware of because of who we are in the tribe, who our identity is.
Yeah.
And how that fits in, and through all of that, one of the things that I really got this time around was how important it is to have those different roles, and that sometimes when somebody from your tribe is missing, like somebody who's good at something, how debilitating that can be, but the knowledge of it, how, like when we realized that there was something missing from one area of our tribe, we all kind of went, oh, well, I could pull this slack for this, and if you pull that slack, we filled the hole. But until we acknowledged that that was missing from our little team, we couldn't have. We just kept hitting the wall. And in particular, like we don't want to give away your secrets, but you did something this year.
Secrets.
Okay. But you did something this year that I wouldn't have believed how transformative it was, but I'm talking about you brought in real wolves.
Yes.
Real wolves, folks.
Yeah.
You know, we went in, we were doing this exercise and we're talking about tribes and how each wolf in the pack has its role, and we were relating to what our roles were, and then you let us know, yeah, we're going to bring in some real wolves.
Yeah, it's a nice surprise.
It is, and it turned people around.
Yeah, the wolf organization that I use is called apexprotectionproject.org. If you have any sort of karma to work off, reach out to them and donate or get involved. We're down to well under 5,000 wolves, and what a lot of anthropologists believe is that we modeled a lot of our behavior off of wolf packs, and we've probably been scavenging or partnering with them for 250,000 years. The dogs in your living room, that was a wolf 100,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we either domesticated them or they domesticated us, and probably a combination of the two. So we have more in common behaviorally with wolves than we do with the apes, which is our genetic kissing cousin. And so what wolves do is they have a intact, what we would call a tribal system. They share resources completely. They have a common vision to the point that generally only even the alpha pair breeds. Everything is focused on the success, which means the survival of the pack. They also have a very large legitimate diversity in their roles, and they know that they're all important, and they're radically different. When we look at our society, we have what we've all just accepted as the golden rule. We treat everybody like we'd like to be treated, which is sort of this assumption that everybody's the same.
And everybody wants the same thing.
Yeah, and we know that that's not true,
Right.
but we've just sort of accepted like, oh yeah, golden rule, yeah, that's a good one. The truth is that, you know, the baby seagull in that conversation is like, what? Nobody's the same. Is that tribes operate with what's called the platinum rule, which is you want to treat everybody not like you want to be treated, but like they want to be treated. Now all of a sudden you have to have this relationship. You have to understand the impact and the power of legitimate diversity, and that people are radically different.
Yeah.
And we can honor them. When you look at the study of anthropology across all the different tribal systems, and there's a vast amount of different behaviors that are very accepted, acknowledged, valuable. And in fact, the people who were out of the spectrum in some capacity were the shamans, and they were the ones that allowed you access to a different perspective, and they were the ones that made you think about things differently. And what a wonderful embrace that instead of the shaming concept of you're different,
Yes.
but to acknowledge and really embrace that legitimate diversity within our communities, and that's a really beautiful thing that working with the wolves have taught me and kind of rebooted that conversation.
Well, and I have to say there was a whole conversation that was had at the retreat about the nannies.
The nannies, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the nannies? Because
the
I think
Wolfpack nannies?
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of the roles that is played within a wolf pack. And we always assume that, the alpha is the boss. They're the smartest, the strongest, the best looking. If you're not the alpha,
Right.
You know, the view never
What's
changes.
The point?
Yeah. And so the reality is that's simply not the way that the Wolfpack functions or that our society is designed to function. You need to flip that pyramid on its top and go, really the alpha is the thing that's supporting the rest of the roles, and they're all interdependent, which means the alpha is not the smartest. That might be the tracker. That might be a bunch of, or in terms of social intelligence or emotional intelligence, that's that nanny role. Yeah. It's highly sought after, coveted, prized, and fought after role within the pack is the one that takes care of the pups.
Yes.
Right? And then you've got your beta, which is kind of the one who rides regulator on the behavior. He's the accountability, or she is the accountability person in the pack. And then you've got your omega, which we think, oh, that's the one that not quite as high functioning as the rest. Absolutely untrue. The omega wolf is actually the one that is incredibly resilient and the one that balances out and diffuses all of the conflict within the pack. So here's this beautiful web of interconnected diversity and behaviors and specializations, and that's our tribe. And we want to put people in particular roles and labels, and it really is not a very healthy way to go about doing things. Yeah. And you look at tribal behaviors in Amazon, in Kalahari, Bushman, Chaco Canyon. That's us, how we're supposed to be in a well-adapted environment. Almost no cancer, no heart disease, no back pain, no knee pain, no anxiety, no depression. Wow. And then look at our lives,
Yeah.
And we have everything. And yet we have the highest cortisol stress hormone rates ever tracked, the highest clinical anxiety, depression, cancer, heart disease. So the reality is that the lone wolf dies.
Yes.
Well, we have been lone wolfed out, and we have bought that bitter, we have swallowed that pill.
Yeah.
And we're dying also. It's just a slow, protracted death of depression and unhappiness. And we can rewrite that in a lot of ways.
But see, everything for me comes back to the autism conversation. I'm not even going to apologize for that. But, within the tribe of the parents who are the autism parents, for each and every family that's dealing with autism, I couldn't help but think about, that's its own tribe. Because, and when our child gets diagnosed with autism, we welcome other people in because at some point we realize, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but we realize I can't do this on my own. We've heard it takes a village, but with kids with autism, it takes a lot more. It takes a couple of villages, right? And so you welcome these people that 3 years before, you would have said, I'm not letting these total strangers come in and virtually co-parent with me. And I was always one of those women, it was like, for me, I was never going to have a nanny because I'm raising my own kid, right? And then my child has autism and I have to let these other people come in and teach me how to interact with my child. And I have to trust them with my most precious thing, right? And I have to make room for them to have a say and make them comfortable. And I was thinking when you were talking about all these different roles about how our family had to do that. And the therapists we welcomed in, I just remember, I'm a former teacher, and I think that teachers and educators and people who spend the time with our kids are our most valuable resource, right?
Absolutely.
And they don't get the respect or, the attention. Right. I mean, it's crazy to me. But, so here I had to really go to my knees and bring these other people in and let them be a part of, and in some cases, be an alpha when I wanted to be the nanny myself, but how it all worked when we allowed them that space and how valuable they were. And it's made me realize even more how when we are sending kids to preschools and who those people are, that they should, if the Wolfpack said these are important people, we should be saying that. We should be acknowledging that.
Absolutely.
Because I honestly, I think a lot of the problems that we have in society are that we aren't putting enough attention on getting the right people in to do that job.
I agree. And again, tribal, you look at the behavior of not only wolves, but our still existing Paleolithic tribes. It's not those parents' kids. It's the kids.
Yes.
It's the people.
Yes.
It's the pups.
Yes.
Of the pack.
Right.
There's a collective. us.
And honestly, you know, that's the other thing that the big autism parent tribe has given to me, because in the early days, you fight for your child. And then as your child gets better, you start fighting for everybody's child.
Sure.
Because how can you not? I mean, and that's, you know, sort of how this show was born, because first I took care of my kid, but every single parent that I run across who's doing something in the autism community, it's because at some point they were on their knees and made a pledge and said, first help me to help my child, and then I promise I will turn around and help as many other kids as I can.
Beautiful.
And it's not just my story, it's so many other parents.
We call it paying it forward in the veteran community.
Exactly. Well, we call it that too.
Oh, well, you can...
we borrow from you. But I think it's important, though, that what I love about what you talk about is realizing how every single person is valuable. Every person brings something to the whole. And that if we try to cut people off from that, we lose. We all lose.
Yep. Yes, we do. We marginalize certain communities, and that will turn around, and that's going to be the death of us societally.
Absolutely. Gosh, so amazing. So talk a little bit about where people go if they want to have this kind of an experience with their group or their organization. What's the website they go to for Fulcrum? FulcrumLeadershipInstitute.com. Okay, and it's not just sit around talking either. No. I've kind of made it seem like it's this talky thing, so and it's boring. Just so not.
We always have a blend. There's going to be a blend of some sort of theory, which we're going to talk about, which is either the behavioral styles that I did with you guys, or my tribe work, or some other theory-based thing. But then it always needs to be driven into experiential, because that's the way we transmute knowledge into wisdom. And if it's not integrated, it's useless. So.
Yeah, I love, there's a gentleman who works here at CARD, he's the business manager, Sangam Pant, and he's a very serious, although he has a sense of humor, but a very serious guy. And this year he was standing with me at the high ropes, and he said, boy, this really affects people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, well, yeah. 2 years, but I didn't do the high ropes this year, but 2 years ago, I had no intention of doing the high ropes. I was like, that's just so not happening. It's not my thing. It's not gonna, I'm afraid of heights. I don't, have upper body strength. I'm, physically not gonna do this. But I was standing, and for people who don't know what high ropes are, describe it for them.
A ropes course, or rock climbing, or any of the sort of adventure experience is basically an artificial fear machine. We're all born with only two fears, and one of them is fear of falling. And so it's this beautiful catch-all of kind of this stressor that we can plug in metaphorically what people really are afraid of, that is useful and valuable and transferable. So if we have a fear of failure, or a fear of intimacy, or a fear of whatever it is we're working on, we can attach that to putting on a harness, climbing up high on a pole, and doing something with another person up there.
Jumping or moving along a wire or something, right?
In a very safe, physically and emotionally safe environment.
There's never, any kind of a possibility that you're going to get hurt. So that's a really important thing. And of course you have to do these things with trained people that, and Phillip's team is wonderful and trained. So it was my group's turn. We get to the high ropes and I was like, yes, so not happening. Not a chance, but I'll stand here and cheer everybody on. I'll, clap for everybody. And I was standing with one of the gentlemen who, he was the first therapist that ever came to our door. He's our autism whisperer, an amazing young man. And I was standing there with him and he said, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. And I could tell that, like, he needed to do it. You know what I'm saying? And
to answer the call.
And so I was like, and I started out kidding, and I was like, oh yeah, we should. There was one where you have to walk across a rope together and you have to work as a team, and I was like, oh, you and I should do that one. And so now he said to me, he said, well, if now he felt like, oh, I have to do this because she needs to do it. He didn't realize I was kidding, and he was like, okay, well, if you want to do it and I need somebody to do it with you, I'll do it with you. So now we're like in this, neither one of us wants to back down because we love each other so much. And but there was one crazy moment when I was like, maybe we should do this.
And this is called accountability, by the way. This is how we get through these things.
Tribally. But it started with a joke. And then there was one that was easier that I said, maybe we should do that one. Maybe we should take the easy route out. And he was like, yeah, we should do that. And then he turned and he looked at me and he said, we never took the easy route when we were working on your son's case. You and I have been in the trenches before, and we never, ever took the easy route. Why would we do that now? Let's do this for Jem. And I said, okay. Yeah. It's on like Donkey Kong. And the video of us doing it is on our YouTube. You guys can see it. It's insane. It's totally insane. And I shook the whole time and shook for hours afterward. But I will never forget it.
Which is the discharge of trauma, very healthy.
Right. But what happened afterwards, we came down and I was like, oh, okay, I'm done. I'm taking off my harness. This is the, you know, I'm done. I've done more than I ever thought I was going to do. But then a couple of minutes later, somebody else asked him to do the one that, you know, where you both climb up and then you meet in the middle and jump. And he got up before she did. She was taking a long time. And then he ended up losing his balance, so he came down. And they said to her to just come down, and she had finally gotten to the top, and he said, don't move, Susie, I'm coming back up. It had taken him maybe 15 minutes to climb up. Yeah. He climbed up that thing in under 30 seconds. I have never seen so. He was a new man. He climbed to the top. He got to the top and he was like, I'm here, Susie, I'm here for you. And they met in the middle and they fell. And afterwards we had to show him the video. We were like, do you know what you did? He didn't even remember. And he said, oh my gosh, I'm capable of that.
Yes, and this is the same response when you ask a firefighter, how did you display or gather the courage to run into that burning building? How did you throw yourself on the grenade to save the rest of your... And the response is always the same. It's, they would have done it for me. Yeah. And this is the secret rebar in the tribe cement, is that there is an honor code in a tribal system, which is the reason why you went up in the first place. Yeah. Because you didn't want to let him down. Yep. He didn't want to let her down. Yep. This is the way that honor operates psychologically versus society, which has a pride code. It's a very different operating system and a different currency. And so when you have people who are going from an intact honor-based system like a family who's welded together through that adversity of autism, veterans, and you're taking them from that honor-based system and then dropping them into a wilderness of pride-based, societal, siloed behavior, there is a free fall that happens, and that's called post-traumatic stress. Yeah, that's that moment of the wheels fall off, and you see alcoholism, you see anxiety, you see depression, a whole host of maladaptive behavior.
So gather your tribes. We're totally out of time, but make sure, let's do the 2 websites again.
Okay, Sparta. thespartaproject.org. That's the nonprofit PTS
and
work.
If you need
and that's a donation,
something,
we could
reach out. And donate if you can. Please donate. Give what you can. Yep. But if you need this service, reach out to Phillip so that you can see about making that happen for you or somebody that you love. I know somebody needs to hear that right now. And then for Fulcrum, whether it's for teens or an organization or adults, what's the website again?
FulcrumLeadershipInstitute.com.
Okay,
fabulous. And it's a pretty website. You guys see lots of pictures and all those fun things.
Oh my gosh.
You'll see a horse program, you'll see ropes courses and Zen archery and rock climbing.
Really cool, and his team is amazing. Yep. We've spent some time with Phillip, you see what I'm talking about, but his team is just as good. Well, I won't say that. Nobody's like you. But they're amazing in their own right.